Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dlamini. South African rapper and Idols presenter ProVerb is in conversation with Polity about his book titled The Book of ProVerb. So, ProVerb, can you briefly tell us who is Tebogo Thekisho, or better known as ProVerb, and where did you grow up and how did your love for music begin?
So, Tebogo Thekisho is a simple kid from small town Kimberley. I was born and raised in Kimberley. I was raised by my grandmother. And my love for music maybe started in high school when I was in boarding school, because I think we had a lot of time to ourselves. We were just, creatives looking for avenues to express our creativity. And so my relationship with music almost made sense.
And how did you end up with the name ProVerb?
So in high school, my friends and I, we all wanted to be rappers. And so we were picking names for ourselves. So I chose the name ProVerb because I wanted to be, well, a pro at verbs, if you like, but also because a proverb, is a saying stating the truth. And I always wanted my music and content to be, honest and the truth.
And yeah, reading the book, I also got a sense that there were words that you didn't want to use in your music because your mom was always in your case, right?
I think it's the other way around. I very much wanted to use those words because I thought that would make you cool, that will make you, like a genuine rapper. But my mom wasn't here for it at all. But I'm so glad she kind of steered me in the right direction, because that ultimately shaped how I think about my music and my content, and ultimately just, how I want my sort of brand to be known.
And now let's talk about the chapter where you tell us more about your father, which is amazing, I must say. The man showed you love from the day you were born till today. He's also a huge pillar of strength, even to the community back in Tabanchu, which led to one of the streets being named after him. I know there is a name now. The street is named Dr. Thekisho Street. Can you briefly tell us about your relationship with your father?
My dad is an amazing guy, man. He's an incredible listener, but he's also very hardworking. He continues to motivate me. He will always allow me to find my own solutions, make my own mistakes, let me be the person I want to be. And he's always been in my corner, always supported all my ideas, my dreams, my goals. And even today, we enjoy a wonderful relationship.
And talking about your mother in the book, I got a sense that there were always like those hiccups between the two of you, but in the end, you made up. And when she died, you also say that you were proud because she died and you had a good relationship with her. You called her C. Would you mind telling us why you called her like that?
Gladly. When I was much younger, my mom lived in Mafikeng, so my one of my cousins was working for my mom, and they used to call my mom Cici. So I think I just kind of adopted it as well because I was very impressionable. So we all called her C, myself and my younger sister as well. But it was because we heard it from my cousins who were working for her at the time.
And she didn't attend your wedding, and I got a sense that you were not happy at the time. Would you mind telling us how you felt?
No problem. So my mom was very particular about how she wanted a lot of things to happen. And back in those days, she didn't sort of agree with a lot of my ideas. Understandably so, she meant well. She was highly religious. So as far as she was concerned, everything had to be by the book. And so she was just kind of unhappy with the fact that, we had gotten pregnant before we were married, and, she had, expectations about how it should all play out. So, by the time it all happened, she wished, I think, it had happened her way. and it didn't, and that caused a lot of disagreement.
But you have a proudest moment that happened in 2017 when you invited your family over. Tell us about that moment.
Sure. So one year I hosted my family for the sort of December holidays, around about this time of year, as a matter of fact. And my mom was here, my grandmom was here, you know, my kids were around, my siblings all came, my dad even popped in. So for me, it was just, you know, it's one of my fonder memories, you know, because I think my family got to see what I'm doing, the kind of life I lead, and they were ultimately very proud. And that would also turn out to be the last time I were to hang out with my mom.
And now let's talk about your grandmother, your rock. That's what you tell us in the book. You said she's your rock. She's like your superhero. Can you tell us about her and how you once attended that meeting when the inspector came to her school when she was a principal?
Sure. So, you know, I was raised by my grandmother. She was incredibly strict, but, you know, I'm grateful for it, you know, because I think I turned out the way I did because of her. So she was a principal at a primary school, and I attended that same primary school, you know, but I would always take advantage of my liberties. And if I was ever bored in class, I would just kind of walk out and go to the principal's office, which I shouldn't have, but, you know, I was just taking advantage of being, you know, the grandson. And so on particular occasion, I was sort of waltzing about in the office again as usual. The inspectors were there, and when one of the teachers said, you know, I should go back to class, the inspector said, no, leave him. We know all about this one, you know. So it's one of my grandmother's fondest stories she used to enjoy telling a lot.
Tell us about that day when at school now you were told to bring a tomato and your grandmother had to walk all the way to school. I was like, wow, this woman really cared about this boy. Can you tell us about that moment?
So my grandmother really did. She did all she could, you know, to make sure that I had the best childhood. I never felt like I was lacking anything. So I was in boarding school, you know, and so whenever we were asked to either bring something or have something, I would always just call her. And at the time, and it only shows you how spoiled I was, you know, I didn't think about all those inconveniences and so on, but she would literally walk from home just to come and bring me all the stuff that I need. And it was only in my later years, you know, that when I reflect on these things that I realize, you know, how much my parents really went all out to make sure that I had a fantastic childhood, and I'm eternally grateful. And I, in turn, try and be the same parent.
And now joining Idols was a turning point in your career, even though you didn't believe you would do well when your manager told you to audition. You say while you were at your lowest point, dealing with the personal challenges, being on stage on Sunday was not even an option, but you had to do it. Can you tell us about that and how Garrett Cliff's advice made sense at the time?
Sure. So that's such a layered question. I think you asked me 4 questions in that. I'll try and answer them all. The first, absolutely, South African Idols was a massive turning point in my career. I did, you know, try out on the sort of advice of my manager at the time, a guy called Joby. I felt there was just a bit of a mismatch because I was coming from a hip hop background and it was a pop singing show, but he really motivated, and I tried out, and in hindsight, it was, you know, the best career decision I've ever made that has changed my life. Then, yes, I have been doing South African Idols for 11 seasons now, and I was going through my own personal things while I was doing Idols, but I kind of think of it as like a saving grace, you know, because it just helped restore my purpose. You know, it was a fantastic reminder that I still have work to do. I still have people who support what I do, and I still have a duty, you know, to perform. So I'm really grateful that Idols was around during even my most difficult times, you know, because it was it was almost giving me an opportunity to kind of forget about my woes for a period and to just kind of smile and do what I love and enjoy. So I almost feel like Idols was there for me, if you like. Then with the advice that Gareth Cliff gave me when I first got the gig, which is, he told me that it's not about me, you know. At the time, I didn't understand it, but I think later I've come to understand what he meant by that. And I think it has served me well as both a presenter and as a co-executive producer, in that the show isn't about me. It's not about trying to shine. It's not about, you know, keeping the spotlight on myself, but rather amplifying everybody else and giving everyone else an opportunity. And I've come to really understand that.
And when I received the book, my son was like, "Oh, have you noticed all the chapters in the book are named after his songs?" But I was like, I'm not clued up in rap music. Would you mind telling us why that is done in your book? Why are the chapters named after your songs?
So I have released 5 albums and a DVD and a mixtape and so on. And all of them were named after books. So, you know, my first album is the Book of ProVerb. My second album is Manuscript. My third album is Rite of Passage, as in writing of a passage. My fourth album was called Forthright, as in, you know, the fourth album I write. And my fifth album was called The Red Tape, as in, you know, a book you've read. So because all my music was sort of named after the book, and the book also happened to be titled after my first album, we thought it would be smart to also name the chapters. So when I finally did a book, it also plugs back to the music. So it was almost just a full circle, if you like.
And Proverb, tell us about your love for your kids.
You know, I always get very emotional when I have to talk about my kids, you know, because my kids are not only my pride and joy, but they are the reason I believe I'm still here. You know, they are my motivation to work hard, to get up in the morning. I'm actually with them right now. And I just kind of try and make the very most of the time that we have together, you know. Even if we're not doing anything in particular, just kind of being in their company, watching them grow, hearing their minds, their perspectives, their opinions, talking about their hopes, aspirations for the future. I also try and get their opinion on everything I do, whether it be my work or just, you know, everything that I'm a part of. And they are honestly just, I don't know. I feel like they've just given me a greater purpose, you know, to try and not only be a better person, to try and continue to learn, to try and be a good example to them, to try and build a legacy and leave a legacy for them. And so I'm just grateful for the privilege of being a parent and being their parent and being blessed with such wonderful kids.
And reading the book, I got a sense that there were a lot of people who have contributed, if you like, to your career, like DJ Fresh and Onati. Can you tell us how they impacted your career?
Yeah, so throughout my career, you know, I've encountered many people, and they were all sort of building blocks, you know, to my career in various, you know, levels and scales and so on. From something as near random as a conversation I had with Abuti Nimrod Nkosi, who was a host of a talent show that I entered in '99 when I came to Johannesburg. And all he said to me was, "You're pretty good, and you should think about Rap Activity Jam." And you know, something as simple as that kind of corridor conversation was probably like the domino effect that would, you know, end up being what is my career today. And guys like DJ Fresh, you know, gave me my first break in the entertainment industry as I was working as a technical producer. You know, my sister Sisunati, you know, I continued to work with her at YFM, but also when I was to get my apartment, you know, I continued her lease and so on. And we work together even today on South African Idols and at Kaya FM. And there's just been sort of many people, you know, and this opportunity, I guess this book was a great opportunity for me to just acknowledge everyone who contributed to my career in however sort of big or small way. But I think it was just a nice opportunity to go back and say I acknowledge it and I'm grateful.
I was just wondering if your dad has read the book and if he has said anything after reading it.
My dad has read the book, but my dad also knows, 99% of it offhand anyway, because he's my confidant. He's who I've been sort of, talking to throughout my life, whether it's my ups, my downs, my celebrations, my lows, my troubles. He's who I confide in anyway. So by the time he read it all, I think he must have known it all anyway.
And lastly, Proverb, what do you hope the readers will take away after reading this book?
I hope readers will be inspired to pursue their own peace. I hope they'll realize that none of us are immune to life's challenges, but those are not, enough to stop us from living a fruitful, fulfilled life. But for me, the biggest takeaway is finding my peace, and I sincerely hope to inspire somebody else to find theirs. In between it all, I also hope they're ignited to pursue success and to really pursue and chase their dreams. But if nothing else, it should be the pursuit of peace. And I sincerely, hope sort of, peace is what everyone takes away from the book.
That was Proverb in conversation with Polity about his book titled The Book of ProVerb.